Hi, beautiful people. So I want to tell you a story. I once knew this girl that was so kind, and maybe not kind is the right word, but nice, like nice all the time. And she was just like, sorry, I got a phone call. Just very, very sweet all the time. And she was a waitress at a restaurant, and eventually, a customer just made her so mad, and she threw her apron down and just lost her mind with anger. And I thought of this story when I was thinking about this topic because there's this real push for, kind of a false or a positive vibes only culture, or no negativity here. And although I'm certainly not advocating for us to just sit around and complain, it's really important that we learn how to recognize and work with emotions. So I'm going to give you some ideas of how to actually work with emotions and why that's important. So if we don't want to turn into a waitress that loses her mind in a restaurant, we've got to recognize that humans have 6 basic emotions: anger, disgust, surprise, sadness, fear, and joy. And only one of them we consider to be positive, right? Joy. And even that sometimes can put us, out of our comfort zone. Joy requires us to really be vulnerable, right? It requires us to embrace that we might lose whatever is making us happy. But these other 5 emotions, we refer to them as negative emotions. And I would like for you to maybe think about reframing that, because if we didn't have anger and fear and sadness, we would literally make terrible decisions as human beings. Fear, when you see your shoe untied, fear is the thing that says, I should stop and tie my shoe so that I don't trip and fall on my face. When, anger propels us to move, to protect ourselves. When there's been an injustice, anger moves us to action when we are in danger. And sadness literally helps to move us into healing. Into when we move through grief, we crack open and we actually have that release. And so I'm learning more and more about how when we repress emotions, it actually literally makes us sick. There's more and more medical research coming out about the repression of emotion and how it literally can contribute to physical illness in the body. And the medical community doesn't really know what to do with it. And it sort of gets lost into the Bermuda Triangle of things. And I saw this speaker, his name is Gabor Mate. He has a book out called When the Body Says No. And I saw him speak at the EMDRIA conference, and his speech was so interesting. What he did was he started reading obituaries to people, or to the crowd. And he's like, listen to this. This is what we celebrate. These are the things that we celebrate in this culture. And it's literally killing us. It's literally making us sick. So he said, Stanley, age 56, never wanted to disappoint anyone. He would go to his mother's house for every night for dinner, and then come home and have a second dinner with his family and kid, because he never wanted to disappoint anybody. Died of pancreatic cancer at age 56. And the second one really could have been my mom's obituary. My mom passed away 5 years ago, but this obituary said, she never thought a thing of herself. She never complained of anything, died of breast cancer at 64. And, people have always said, and of course, I'm not demonizing anybody for this, but people came up to me after my mom died and said, oh, she just never complained. She was so strong. And in my head, I always thought, yeah, maybe if she would have complained, she would still be alive right now, right? My mom was so much heart and so much empathy, and yet I do I have to wonder, it's not that I'm blaming her for her cancer at all, but I have to wonder if the repression of her own anger, of her own feelings, of her own needs contributed to that. So my point is one, let's not make ourselves sick by repressing what we call negative emotions, but I'm going to refer to them maybe as uncomfortable emotions. And here's a way to really work with them. So when you are noticing an emotion, one, the first thing, we call it name it to tame it. So as soon as you can name it, really get specific. Is it shame? Is it a version of sadness? And can you expand your vocabulary to be, is it despair? Is it rage if it's anger? Is it embarrassment? Is it humiliation? Really try to get specific about naming whatever it is that you're feeling. And of course, there's this tendency to push it away. Sometimes I can even find myself using deep breathing as a way of pushing things away, like, okay, it's not here. And sometimes that's good. It's containment skills. But what I want to invite you to do is, instead of pushing it away or only trying to have positive thinking, notice what it is that you're feeling. And then really notice how you're physically carrying that in the body. Is there a tightness or a clenching of your fist? Is there a tension in your chest? Does it feel like your head is in a vice? Is there jitteriness in your tummy? And try to get as specific as you can with that, of really to yourself describing in a non-judgmental way what it is that you are physically feeling. Is it dull? Is it stinging? Is it hot? Is it frenetic? And bring an acute attention and awareness to what it is that you are physically feeling in your body. And it might get worse, it might get bigger, and it might stay the same, but just bring curiosity and, if you can, some compassion to what it is that you're feeling. So naming I'm feeling blank and offering it some acceptance and care, and then noticing what happens. Where do you feel it in your body? What is the story that I'm telling myself about this? And just beginning to really sit with the physical feelings. Come alongside and sit next to it, almost like if it was your best friend or your own child or a niece or a nephew, like sitting alongside that physical sensation. And if you can, go to the center of that sensation and then invite it here, having a welcoming stance, which is so counterintuitive. If you're feeling anger or shame or sadness or fear, our tendency is to push that away. But can you welcome it here? If your kiddo was feeling scared or sad, would you push it away, or would you say, like, hey babe, I got you, I'm here for you, I see you, I love you, etc., right? So trying to have like a welcoming stance for that, and just staying with those physical sensations, and eventually they might pass. And we want to really come to this practice not with the agenda of making them go away, but of acknowledging them. Because again, if we try to make them go away, we're really just bypassing or denying ourselves what it is that we're feeling in the present moment. And instead, just sitting and acknowledging them and offering them a breath, your breath and your attention and your care. And eventually, they do pass. So that is actually the way of moving through emotion and working with emotion, rather than that kind of only positive thinking or only bypassing them. And that allows them to actually be processed and move through the body, rather than just, denied and pushed under the rug. And then you become crazy lady in the restaurant, right? So I hope that is helpful. Have a lovely week. Be well, my friends. Bye.